As we continue in this time of social isolation in order to address the crisis of COVID-19, but also as we head toward the governor's stage 2 or phase 2 of reopening North Carolina, I know that many of us want to return to worship as quickly as possible, and many of us are worried about our health as well. It's a difficult time of waiting and planning. So in thinking about these issues, I wanted to talk about one of my favorite passages in the Bible. It comes from the 20th chapter, the last chapter of the Gospel of John. It's the story about Thomas, which is often called Doubting Thomas, but I think that's a misnomer because in many ways it's about the Lord encountering us and giving us what we need, but also being with us there in a time of difficulty. So after Jesus had visited all of the disciples except for Thomas, because Thomas was not with them, the disciples say to Thomas, "We have seen the Lord." And Thomas replies that unless I see the mark of the nails in his hands, and I put my finger in the mark of the nails and my hand in his side, I will not believe. An entire week later, after this event, Jesus appears to the disciples in a house in which the doors are closed. He travels through the wall and appears to them, and Thomas is there this time. And he says, "Peace be with you" to all of them, but then he addresses Thomas directly. And he says, "Thomas, put your finger here and see my hands. Reach out your hand and put it in my side. Do not doubt, but believe." And that's the moment where Thomas says to Jesus, "My Lord, my God." It was an existential moment of change for him, but it came an entire week later. I think this is in part because Jesus knew that Thomas needed time to lament, but also that Jesus knew what Thomas needed in that he came to him and said, "Put your hand on my side." It wasn't that it was unique for Thomas in that he'd done this to all the disciples, but Thomas needed it at a different time, and he needed it in a personal way. I think it would be reasonable to say that the Lord is with us even in this time, of course, and that the Lord knows what we need, just like Jesus came and directly addressed Thomas's needs. And honestly, we need to be aware of both the lament that's in this story and the difficulty, the crisis, and the way in which the Lord meets those needs, but they're also genuinely expressed. When Thomas says to the other disciples, "I will not believe until I see the Lord," it's not a negative necessarily. It's a genuine expression of his fear and his doubt, his mourning of Christ's death. And I note that because so often things like this book, The Power of Positive Thinking, or Carnegie's book, How to Make Friends and Influence People, those type of positive thinking type approaches to life, positivity, become an interpretive lens for our life in a way that we don't look at life through the Bible. We don't see that Jesus experienced really difficult times, and Thomas and others throughout the Old and the New Testament faced really hard stuff. And the Lord was with them. It doesn't say just be positive and get over it. The Lord says don't doubt but believe. After having said, "Put your hand on my side, see these wounds," Thomas knew, or God knew, what Thomas needed. That's where Jesus was at, right there with them, and God is with us in this time. So I know that many of us are ready to return to worship, and we are ready to end this isolation, but it's going to take time. Tomorrow morning, I'll be meeting with our COVID-19 response team. Some of you may know that I lead a small team of our leaders through the process of deciding when we go to worship and recommending to the council and to our minister how we should proceed during this time of social isolation. So tomorrow we're going to be looking at the North Carolina Conference of the United Methodist Church's plan for a return to worship. And it's an extended plan of time in which we are doing good. We are doing no harm. We're staying in love with God by being careful and trying our best to foster not only good relationships with the Lord and with others, but safe relationships in which we do no harm and in which we do good. So I want you guys to know that a plan is coming, but during this time of isolation, when you are alone, the Lord is with you. And it's not a power of positive thinking, buck up approach. It is saying that God is with you in your fear. God is with you in your anger. God is with you in your lament and in your sorrow, in your isolation and in our community. The Lord is with us, and the Lord knows what we need. Take comfort that we have a Jesus, that we have a Christ who had a life full of difficult times, full of lament, and that the Lord is there to comfort us as the comforter. We will return from this exile, but it takes time. We will soon experience that same great moment that Thomas had in the 20th chapter of John, where we exclaim, "My Lord, my God," as we return to worship in our building. But until that time, again, know that the Lord is with you and the Lord knows what you need. We need to have patience. We need to build resilience. We will seek the Lord even in our lament and in our isolation. We will speak to the Lord and converse with God in our anger and in our crisis. In the midst of our lives, God is there. Your community is here for you. Thank you for joining us today.